Okay. We have The Recount, all right? And let me pull up my notes for this one. Jonathan Hedrick, of course, but who else do we got on this? Illustrator, Gabriel, Ibarra, Nunze. The Recount is a realistic action thriller. I would call it a political thriller.
If you could even reverse those words with it making sense. It's definitely more thriller than political, like a thriller politic. That doesn't make sense. That's not a good sentence. But like, it's definitely leans heavier on the thriller side than the politics. We'll get into it.
Yeah, let's get into this, man, because this right here was one of the breakout hits of Scout Comics, which is one of the best independent comic book companies coming out right now.
I think it's my favorite Scout book they've ever done.
This would be in my top 5 of favorite Scout books for sure.
Yeah, we're doing all kinds of lists today, guys.
I know, man. These comic fans, what they come here for. All right, so we have The Recount. This right here, we actually talked about briefly a bunch of times because this book has made it on multiple hot lists. Also, this book, we debuted the ash can for the mail call.
Right.
Back when we were starting to work with Scout, they would hook us up with a bunch of ash cans because they would do a low print of them, and they wanted the comic fam to get some of the first copies of it. So we sent out like 50 or 60 of them.
Didn't we just do a variant for this book too?
We did just do a variant for this book.
With the Scarface homage?
Yes, we did the Scarface homage. It was Brian Silverbacks. They only did a trade dress. We took the Virgins to print and some altered versions. They'd be selling pretty damn well, by the way. They're hitting like $50-$60, some of these editions. The box is $34.99, comic fam.
That's just saying.
Hey, I'm just saying, I got to toot my own horn sometimes because I'm working hard making some exclusives. I don't toot them that much. We have one of the best comic book podcasts in the world. What's going on? I said that.
Is this based on a video game? No.
No.
No, Joffrey, no video game.
No video game here, no. This is actually based off of...
It definitely looks like a Call of Duty cover or something right here. This looks like a video game.
If you are into things like The Purge, I think you're going to really enjoy this.
Tom spent like a half hour out here. The reason this show is so late today is because he gave me a detailed breakdown of the entire Purge series. Which
I love The Purge now.
I just finally watched the first one a while ago. It was good.
It was really good.
I'm going to watch the rest of them, I guess, but...
You have to watch all of The Purge. Yeah. Like all the shows, like all the movies, because there's multiple ones. And then you have to watch the 2 seasons that they did because they're so damn good. But anyways, The Recount. What The Recount does so well... I think there's only 4 issues.
Yeah, so far.
Right? Only 4 issues. Okay. What's really cool about The Recount is that some comic books, they have to make a decision of how much exposition and how much explaining they're going to do. Do they do it in just one comic? Do they do it in a couple pages? Do they do it over the course of like 4 comic books or 1 trade or 2 trades? The Recount strikes a really good, like, it hits it just right is what I'm trying to say. In 4 issues, it takes place in, I believe, like a couple days, if that.
Yeah, it's a quick comic in terms of like time elapsed during the story.
It's about an event. It's about a civil war.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird one to kind of explain for you guys.
Let's get into it. Just a poquito. You want to let Butch in here?
I'll let Butch.
Let Butch in here. We got the comic gato in the house. Let's do this.
Hi, Butch.
Let's do it. We got...
Talk about politics with us.
Yeah, we're going to talk about politics, but you know what? That's actually one of the things that this comic book does really well is that... Okay, let's get into the narrative and then why we think this is a cool book for everyone.
Yeah, it does. It works. It manages to kind of like straddle.
That's right.
If you will.
So we have an introduction with... Oh my God, this cat is pissed at us for leaving him out.
We locked him out and he's yelling.
Here, come on. Come here, everybody.
Go see Tom.
Come on up. Come on.
Is this the first page of the book?
This is the first page. We have a gentleman who's getting harassed, someone who is being abducted, okay? That's the basic thing here is because this gentleman is going to be recruited to assassinate the president, okay? That's pretty much the important part. I don't want to show you too much of this. I may have even gotten a couple too many pictures. This book, it's so quick. There's not a whole lot to discuss. But what I will say is that this president, he's done some bad things and he's resigning. And in the process of resigning, he gets muck ducked.
One of his own Secret Service agents on stage pulls a gun and kills him in the middle of this resignation speech that he's giving. And it's cool that you pointed this out to me too, that I obviously read the book, but I didn't make the connection that like, you never really hear what he did. He did something guilty enough to make him resign being the president, but it sidesteps a touchy kind of political quagmire by not even addressing that at all, which would probably potentially turn a lot of people off on one side or the other, readers.
This is about a political uprising where one side of the civilians decide to attack and take over the country. by not just killing the political leaders, but anyone who supported the regime, including those who voted and supported them on social media.
Yeah, that's the frightening element of it too. Like, one of the scenes that stuck with me the most is this family, like, kind of watching this news broadcast and then looking on their side table, and they have like a campaign hat from the president on there, and they clearly were supporters of this guy.
That's all it takes.
And they look at each other and they realize, like, you know, we're in trouble.
This all happens very quickly, and this is essentially like a mix of Fight Club and The Purge to a degree, because this community of individuals is quite large. They have been growing the community of individuals who are going to go against the regime. And what you find out is that there is no one that you can trust in this comic book. And that right there is what makes it so unsettling every single page.
Yeah.
Every person. You're questioning whether they are good or bad. Secret Service agents are infiltrating. Again, this is that Fight Club vibe.
Yeah, you don't know who to trust, and your Secret Service is supposed to be like, you know, the last line of defense, you know, the most dependable, trustworthy people to protect, you know, all the important politicians and all that. But there's some holes in that organization, some leaks, if you will.
So what Recount does very well is that regardless of, I mean, because like whenever you get into like political comic books, I think, okay, this is what the Recount does really well. Let me see here. Maybe I can do this right. So a lot of people get upset with the major publishers and how they handle politics in their books.
Yes.
What do you say?
I would agree.
Too on the nose is probably the best way to put
People get upset, and it's not necessarily right or wrong. I just think they get upset more with the way it was handled.
Absolutely. That's a very astute way to describe it. What the Recount does is able to communicate political unrest without rattling either side, because it puts out an idea that is not specific to a particular belief. It is more about government bad, this is what happens, and there are two sides. It doesn't matter which side, this is what's happening. They don't even define the sides because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't say like the Democrat president, or, you know, it doesn't get into labels like that.
Not at all.
And the really scary part is what tied this into the Purge for you earlier when we were talking about it. I think if this is basically a civil war uprising that people are just deciding to take out supporters of this president. And I had the realization that, like, there would obviously be some just outright lunatics who use this opportunity to actually do more like a Purge thing. And not, you know, I'm not going to only kill guys who voted for the president. I'm just going to kill whoever I want just because I want to kill people and get away with it, because everyone's going to be all distracted.
Yeah, it's like, what are the ramifications in a world where this is now happening? Who's going to take advantage of it? Who are really going to do it for the political reasons and for the, you know, the civilization they're fighting for, and also who are going to do it for these just obtuse reasons as well, just to, you know, carry acts of violence out. This right here is what it's about. We have a full takeover, almost like anonymous style. They take over the television.
Hijack the news.
You know? And the fact that the president was executed as he was resigning means something major. It means that the government themselves that's being, you know, attempted for this takeover, being attempted to be taken over, they were in some bad stuff. He's resigning. This is like some Nixon-esque type of thing. So, high tension, high risk, violent. This is what happens during a civil war when everybody is at risk. And let's just leave it at that. It's 4 issues. It's a quick read, and it's damn good.
It is extremely tense and uncomfortable in a really good way. I had fun with this comic. It might not be for everybody, and I actually was reminded of Reggie Collects. Got that book coming out that I think you and I are both going to be featured in. It's going to be, I think, my first published anything, by the way, which is exciting. But I wrote an article in there about comics as escapism and how some people are kind of grumpy that comics are being influenced too much by real-world events and real-world story elements like the Recount and The Good Asian. But I made the point that, like, a thriving comic ecosystem needs as many different elements as it can have. And me personally, I like a little bit of a real world flavor in my stories.
I almost need it, man.
Yeah.
I think it's hugely important, and it's what comics have been doing since their inception.
And I think you can have a real comic like The Recount, and you can also have a totally insane something like Saga or something that has zero basis in reality, but is still awesome.
Yeah.
There's room for both.
That's right.